You ready, Ed? All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd bow your heads and join me in a quick prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful day and bringing us together here tonight at the Township. We ask that you would be with us tonight, help us to be good stewards of the Township, and be respectful of everyone's thoughts. And we ask that you would return us home safely. In your Son's name we pray. Amen. All right. The agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look over the agenda? Questions, comments, concerns, motions?
Motion to approve the agenda as written.
We have a motion. Do we have support?
Support.
All right, we have motion support. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? We had a submission from Mr. DeGraff here. Is there a difference between the minutes and what he is asking us to change? Because I didn't even see a comment about it.
Page 6.
Page 6. Maybe I didn't look
1,
far.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for being here tonight, guys. Looks like I missed the plaid and pattern memo tonight. You look very nice.
Dang it, so did
You
I.
guys are all coordinating. Our two requests for the minutes. One is just a consideration to change that verbiage. It could be removed all entirely. It could be modified based on your discretion. But our little paragraph that we submitted was just in an articulation to try to understand our standpoint with there. So that would be question number one. Would you consider modifying or removing that? And then the second part of it, in reviewing are the minutes, we realized that there was a slight discrepancy in our business name. Our actual business name is Rockford Self Storage, and so I do have a proposal or a request for the Planning Commission to consider doing a motion tonight to just update our business name from Rockford Storage to Rockford Self Storage. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was the typo on the Township? It was in the application we had a typo, or you had a typo? I didn't understand. So it was the Township error. I'm indifferent. Do you guys feel that's impertinent?
You talking about the name?
No, the minutes are for the part where on page 6 that they want us to change.
I'm still, I guess, confused on what we're changing though, because what was said actually took place.
Oh yeah.
So that's why we would have it left in the minutes, because it's what was said. If there was confusion onto what you guys interpreted the definition or the answer, that's a different story. But I think it was said, we would leave it in because it's what took place. But I have no problem if you want to read in a change to that. That would be on the record for the minutes for next meeting, if that is what you're looking for. It's just to make it, public knowledge. But I think, in my opinion, I think we would leave it because it actually happened and took place. Do you guys agree or disagree?
Well, and then there's clarification. It looks like, not having been at the meeting, but it looks like there's clarification on Ed, from Ed's behalf, that text amendment it's not an overriding of the ZBA. So there's explanation of that. Is that what the concern or what the discrepancy is?
If you don't mind, it definitely was said, so I understand the argument there. We just are hoping, because it's public record, that if somebody looks at it 5 years from now and is scratching their heads of what was fully discussed there, maybe there needs to be additional verbiage. So if there was an additional sentence added that just said this is not overstepping the ZBA, or which it sounds like maybe it already is in there. So
It
that's
is, I mean,
where
the following line says,
Okay.
after that little paragraph says, Ed Locker clarifies that a text amendment is not overriding the zoning board of appeals.
okay.
Does that, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to challenge, but
Do
just
you have
trying to
any other
clarify.
questions on that? Yeah. And that's what our hope is to
Okay.
make it as clear as possible. So we thought initially that if we could just have that statement removed, that would be the best case scenario. But if that's not needed, we're open to whatever the planning commission decides is best with that verbiage.
Any more discussion on it?
Since we're
I just think it should stand as what was said. Leave the text in there.
Is that a motion?
Leaving it in the minutes.
Is that a
my
motion, though?
side.
And then adding or updating your business
The
name
business name?
is appropriate. That seems appropriate.
Where's that at?
Just at the very first, very first page where it talks about pending business.
Oh, under, yeah.
6A.
So it would be 6A and then 7.
in 7A.
And there's another section as well.
Yeah, page 5, new business.
Thank you, Jesse.
So I'll make a motion to amend the minutes to reflect Rockford self-storage on both 6A and 7A, and then leave the rest as written.
Support.
We have a motion. We have support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No,
Thank you.
All right. Public comment. Anybody here for anything that's not on the agenda? You want something to say? Come on up. No? All right. So pending business, the landscape plan for Rockford, we'll go ahead and amend it right now. Self-storage.
Thank you.
So if you want to go ahead and give us a quick description of what you've got, it's pretty self-explanatory, but for the public, if you would come up. Make sure that microphone's on. Is it green or is it red?
It is green.
All right. Thank you.
So the landscape plan was designed by Steve Cox with Cox Landscape Design. He was actually the designer of the landscaping around Township Square. He's a local guy. He's qualified. Not only did we get a professional plan, but we got somebody who knows Cannon Township and the characteristics that are that Cannon Township prefers and admires. So we submitted a narrative as well. We're happy to answer any questions, but we're genuinely excited about the plan and asking for your support tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any feedback on it? Does it meet the current requirements for the landscape plan for a site plan? I mean, out of the ordinary or anything? I mean, I'm fine with it if that's what it looks like, because I mean, there's a lot more trees in front of the new building that we had concerns with the doors than the other. So, I mean, I like it. Is there going to be any berming?
Okay.
The original plan was similar to this. You just saw a row of trees, but we didn't identify where they were going to be put. One of the problems you have when you try to deal with existing trees is you can't ruin the root systems of the trees that are there. If you do, you're going to kill the tree. Some of those trees are, 50-year-old trees. And the other thing that I would point out too is that we identified all the big trees. There are dozens and dozens of small saplings, 6 feet tall, 8 feet tall, whatever, that we didn't identify, both deciduous and evergreen. What was your question? I forget your question.
Is there berming?
We can't put dirt on root systems that are already there. So in terms of in front of the big building, there probably won't be any berming. You know, if we could do some, we might do some a little bit, but in order to keep those trees, if you put 6 inches of dirt over a root system that's there, you're going to kill the tree. So, and it's all a lot fuller than it looks right there too. So we're going to have to really pick and choose where we can slide an additional tree in there.
Thank you.
So thank you. I just had some questions about the plan
Mhm.
because it doesn't represent what's there, and what I wonder is on the section of the plan that's just east of the gate. So I see like 2 trees in a rectangular shaded area that
The shaded areas are where snow needs to go.
So what I wondered is, I think in that area right now, there's about 8 fairly substantial evergreens,
Blue spruce.
blue spruce,
Yep.
something green. Is it your intent to remove those trees?
We're going to need to remove those. Yes. And right here, somewhere right in this. Whoops. Those are somewhere right in this area, but all of the snow from every one of these aisles all has to go up here. All these aisles, all the snow comes forward, and that's why we need the gray areas. That's why we need the shaded areas to put snow. Those trees were there right now, and originally we were told to put those trees there to shield outdoor storage, so we would have outdoor storage. But we need places to be able to put the snow, and that's what those gray areas are. Those trees are kind of, if you looked at them closely, they're diseased, and they've been there for 35 years, and they're sort of to their life expectancy. They're going to end up coming. We've actually have lost some of them, but they're going to end up coming down at some point in time in a good storm. They just, spruce trees are so big, they're not a big sturdy tree.
I don't have an exact count, but I believe it's 5 spruce trees.
You can bring that to you and Jordan, so if you want to talk, yeah.
It's 5. That's all.
It just seems odd to me that they're there and they're serving the purpose of screening the outdoor stuff, which I understand is not going to be there anymore, and then they'll be removed and that screening's not going to be there anymore, be effective. And where you're intending to place the white pines is a fairly heavy deciduous area. So I'm just trying to understand the principal area that we need the screening in. It doesn't seem like that screening would be accomplished by 2 trees ripping out. I thought there were closer to 8, maybe it's 5, ripping those out and putting in 2 trees. I'm trying to see how we're going to achieve that purpose.
Well, essentially what we did is when we worked with Steve Cox, we went out and marked all of these trees and got locations for them. And then he was the one that looked at the plan and said, hey, to be able to offer some visual screening, he strategically placed all of these white pines in these areas as well. These trees, they were planted, like my dad said, 35 years ago. They don't naturally blend in like this natural woods element does. They kind of stick out like a sore thumb. They're taller, but we thought by doing this, it accomplishes the areas that we need to be able to address snow, and then it also offers a nice uniform look with one tree placed in front of each building. That was the intent. We've truly gone by Steve Cox's recommendation as far as this is what would look nice for a natural plan, blending into the natural scenery of Cannon Township as you head eastward.
So a few more questions. On the west side of the gate, there are currently 5 trees, 5 deciduous trees. Are you going to remove 3 of those and leave just 2?
that would be the plan to plant. This would be the final site plan to have one building or one tree in each of these locations. Yes.
So you would be taking out, are you taking out all 5 and putting 2 in, or are you taking 3 out and leaving?
Okay, so I'm understanding the clarification. So, the original site plan that we got a long time ago had trees placed here. There are presently no trees at all in this area. They were, I believe, a pear variety of tree that, no, pear was the wrong variety, but we had limbs falling down and they have been removed. So right now there's presently nothing here, and so the proposal is to have one tree placed as it's presently situated. The only thing that's not shown is those 5 or so evergreen trees on this side blocking the outdoor storage. Is that helpful?
It is, and my apologies, I was focusing my attention on the area on the east side of the gate, because that's where the new buildings are gonna go, so I
Okay.
had to rely on Google Earth for the west side, because I
Oh,
couldn't
sure.
remember that after the drive-through.
Okay.
And I counted up 5 or 6 trees, and they did look like pear trees, and I thought,
Okay.
that's really nice.
Yep.
But if they're all gone right now, then
Yeah.
when were those removed?
Probably 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, we had a few of them fall over and limbs break in a storm. So these ones have been removed.
Okay.
We are very much anticipating planting these ones back with this full site plan. So,
And so the 4, and I apologize, I think I could blow it up. The 4 trees that you have, 2 on each side of the gate, what kind of trees are those?
I have a
It
list.
says,
for you.
it says on the site plan, they're pear trees,
Oh, okay.
Cleveland Select, upright flowering pear, 2 inches in diameter to start with.
Thank you.
So one question that I have, I mean, I certainly appreciate what I'm seeing here, trying to screen the doors facing, being that primary. I also appreciate the fact of preserving all of the very mature trees that are right there and that natural screening and things there. One question, and maybe this is more for Ed, is what type of process is there, or ability from the township if, as you had kind of alluded to, a storm comes through and takes out 3 of those nice mature trees right there. Obviously, we can't request that they put and replace it with a 50-year-old 60-foot tree or something, in that spot. But in order to retain some sort of a screening there, is there any kind of takeaway or enforcement or input that the township has with that? Okay. Yeah, and I'm not sure I'd want to go same species, because again, if that's a 50-year-old tree, it might make more sense to put a pine in there for some immediate, or a mix or something, or if there's a old cottonwood tree that's hanging on there, replacing it with that may not be the best interest. But just curious what the options are there. Aside from that, no other concerns with what I'm seeing here.
Thank you, Ben. Any other discussion?
Yeah, just one comment. Most people would prefer to just go in there and clear cut and plant a few trees. And it would look totally different if we just went in there and clear cut. It's easier to clear cut. You don't have to deal with roots. You don't have to deal with the trees. You don't have to deal with maintaining trees and leaves and everything else. You just, you don't have any of that there. So, we are trying to stay with what's there, even though it's going to be more costly. It's going to be more timely. It's going to be more maintenance all the way down the road. But I think Jordan had mentioned something at one point in time. I think you can go anywhere in northern Kent County to any one of our properties, and ours is generally the best maintained property nearby. So we don't slack on any of our properties.
One additional question, where are you currently storing your snow?
I can show you. It's all in this round area.
I like the fact that they're trying to keep the trees that are currently there. I don't have a problem with the way that it's written. I do like the idea of, like you said, a maintenance agreement of some sort. Just maintaining what's proposed. And if the big, I'm sure we can come up with some sort of wording that if maintaining the quantity of trees, it doesn't have to be, like you said, replacing with something massive. But if one comes down, okay, start with a 2-inch one again.
Yeah.
Let it do its thing.
And I'm not even opposed to just, keeping it. I mean, the nature of it, and I think what we're after is just,
Maintaining screening.
Maintaining the screening, yes, with vegetation. If in the event that something comes down, and to your point, I know you appreciate that you guys take pride in that, and I appreciate the fact that you're not looking to clear cut, certainly. But at the same time, looking at best case scenario, someone comes with a giant truckload of money and purchases your property and wants to maintain it, and you sell that they're held to that as well.
Yeah, I have a little bit of a concern with a maintenance agreement for a woods. I personally feel that's going a little overboard. I mean, because that's essentially what we're going to do is we're going to maintain a woods that's there. Tornado goes through there and wipes that woods out. You're asking us to go back and replant that entire wood?
No, I don't think that's what we were discussing here. I think what, at least my intention what was stated was maintain the screening. That doesn't necessarily mean, what I was proposing or discussing
just
wasn't
what's along
necessarily
the road.
tree for tree, but to say, okay, well, if you can maintain that screening by adding 4 more white pines, perfect, right? It's just that visual piece. I wasn't implying that we're counting bushes and, individual trees in there.
So we have an ordinance for 2 years at least. Yeah. And anything beyond that, if they ripped it out, they would be non-complying with their site plan. And if they ever wanted to get a permit for something, they'd have to bring it back to compliance. Is that sufficient?
I was just curious how that works in general, not just for this property.
So do we have any concerns with what's in front of us then? I'll make a motion to approve the landscape plan as written.
Support.
All right, we have a motion and support. Ed, do you want to do a roll call?
Yes.
Masterson,
Yes.
Twyman,
Yes.
LaPrant,
Yes.
Gutowski Sladen.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. We don't do this every day as far as presenting to the board, and so we appreciate your patience with our shakiness. We work really hard to serve our customers, so thank you for allowing us to do the work.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. New business. Ed, do you want to? Well, if anybody would like to leave, you're more than welcome to. We'll get on to the new business. There's not really anything on here. Do you want to discuss anything out of Chapter 3? Or So hold my notes for that. Okay.
in your office.
Yes, in my office. Any comments from the planning commission? You want to give us an update, Jess?
Sure. Last night, we had a very interesting meeting. We voted on the Judson Farm uh, site condominium that we had a request or sent to the board that we recommended that they move forward with it. Actually, our fearless leader, Jeff, brought to my attention over the weekend possibly we should include seeing if we could do a performance bond as well. I guess at our level, we could have put that stipulation on, but I don't think it ever came up prior. But anyways, the board moved forward with all of our requests, included the performance bond that the attorney will set. And then the only thing was our one request was that we wanted them to touch base with Kent County Parks, right? The trail will just connect to Kent County Parks. So I don't know if there'll be any formal discussion with them, but at least that trail will connect to that property. So any other questions?
No, that's good. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Any other comments? Go ahead.
I'll just say from ZBA, we've still had a couple items with, setbacks primarily have been the thing. One on the lake. There was another one for outbuilding recently. It sounds like we have another outbuilding setback one coming up here this month as well.
It's funny, I've been reading the old communicators and it looks like we switched to the lake residential zoning in 96 because there were so many requests at ZBA, and I was like, oh, that's so crazy because we're kind of going through the same thing that we were going through in the 90s. So interesting.
Any other comments?
I just had a question in terms of, looking at the ordinance and reading through it. Is there any other place to find a resource on, aside from being on the ZBA and knowing what we usually get in terms of requests? Is there any other, do we have recommendations from council on that chapter or any other source you would want us to consider as we're reading it?
And not to mention, they're always held during the meetings, and we usually will take public comment on this stuff because it pertains to the public. But generally, when we get off into the rhubarb on this stuff, nobody shows up because we're doing text amendments, and people are like, yeah, it doesn't really affect me because we're talking about setbacks in a district that we don't live in or something. So we don't usually get people to show up, but spread the word. Come show up. We'd take feedback because otherwise all we get is ZBA, the board, and attorneys with what other townships do. And it'd be nice to hear like, hey, here's what we think. The master plan gives us a little bit, but more of what they'd like to see for zoning with, housing and stuff like that. We don't get into the ordinances too much. So we, it's open to the public to come to these meetings when we do these.
And I'll say the last time that we did this, it was also the zoning administrator at the time asking for clarification on certain areas that they received lots of questions and had challenges interpreting the intent on that at times as well. So there was that input.
It was very vague definitions. Yep. So we've added a lot of clarity to it. So, and there's obviously still some that we need to do. And yeah. So any other comments? You got any comments?
Is that something that it then gets opened up to other townships in the area to participate in? Oh, okay.
Do we have a meeting next month? So far. Okay. Right. Cool.
Oh, I did get feedback from the board that they would like us to be a little bit more specific on,
Site plans.
yeah, just, like, I know the road that we talked about with Judson Farm, like, if I recall from our meeting, we weren't particular north side, south side. Perhaps I misremembered it, but they would like us to, like, be authoritative on what we want, just so we don't have to spend time discussing it at the board level since we're doing the research, if that makes sense. I said, no problem. You want us to take charge? We shall.
All right. If there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Oh, sure. Come on up.
Rita Proctor, 7860 Silver Hills Drive. As it relates to the performance bond, if there are residents like myself that live adjacent to that, is there a best way, or should I say, are we allowed to, and is there a best way to reach out if we have suggestions or thoughts about anything that might be included in that?
That'd be a question for the board, wouldn't it? Because the performance bond was for the road and the sidewalks. Being residential lots. Yeah, and there's no open space on this one, so. But if you had suggestions, I would direct them to Ed, or the board really would have to address it when they set the performance bond, wouldn't they? Because, right.
Okay. And is there like a rough timeline of how long it takes for something like that to get developed?
They have 5 years, but it's from their first sale.
I'm sorry, I meant to create the actual terms of the performance bond itself. Like, is that something that'll be done within?
And complete it.
Okay, because at the meeting last night, Steve mentioned that the requirements of the bond would be written by council with recommendations by the planning commission, by the board, by the township engineer. So he made it sound like it was a little bit more of an involved process than just setting a bond.
I think it's
What were the terms of it?
we didn't set the terms. We just said that the attorney would set the terms, basically, right, Ed? I don't know if you watched it, but yeah.
That they have to be completed prior to issuing.
Oh, that's
And they won't be able to get their occupancy until the sidewalk's in. And the reason why we chose to do, we wouldn't want the developer to put all the sidewalks in first because they would just get
walk
destroyed,
away.
and that'd be silly. So they can't get their occupancy until the sidewalks are in. But let's say they only sell 12 lots on the south side or something, and there need to be 4 more lots that get filled in. At 5 years, they have to put sidewalks in on that entire south side. Following?
okay. Maybe I'll send an email just because it sounds like the way that it's being described here is different than the way that Steve had described it last night at the meeting.
My
That's
understanding.
where I'm getting a little confused.
My understanding is that our council, the attorney, will figure that out on the back end based on the information that we gave them, is my understanding. But I don't think there's any other public meetings regarding it. I think the
Right,
attorney.
right.
Okay.
I understood that part of it, but it sounds like you're saying that it's just like pretty much done. And my understanding from Steve is it would require a little bit of work on the back end to write up the whatever those requirements are, set the bond amount, what the gates are, if you will, the specific metrics that they have to meet. It seems like all of that would need to be fleshed out.
Yeah, I'll find out because I learned in the process too. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. We'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Thanks everyone for coming.